Well, hello, hello, hello. I don't even know if there's anybody here right now. Thank you, Edwin, for the pre birthday celebration. How sweet. 16 candles. God bless you. Yeah, I wish. 16, I wish. All right, so I'll hang out for a couple minutes. If anybody shows up, we'll do a show. And hello, Heather. How are you? All six of you watching, feel free to say hello. So what's going on? Is everybody surviving this heat and smog? It's not as bad today as it has been. Yesterday was a little better than the day before, but let me tell you something. A couple days ago, that smoke, you could barely see in front of you. So the air quality is still not that great, but it's not as smoggy out, so you can actually like go to your car and get in it. um, what else is new, guys? Anything new? Anything you guys want to talk about? I want to talk about. Well, I have a couple things to talk about actually. But as far as like the title, homeless issues. Um, barely. I haven't been outside in days. Then, on top of all that, we had severe storms. Thankfully, no tornado. We lost power. Yeah, we've had thunderstorms. I think the other day we had severe thunderstorms as well. And here's the thing: it will rain and it will cool off while it's raining, and then maybe about 5 minutes after the rain, but then goes right back to blazing hot. Um, the temperature today, I believe, when I did go out there earlier, was about 85. So it wasn't horrible, but it felt so humid. It was like yuck. I don't want to be out here. Um, the only way I could survive this heat like this is if I was at the beach. Everything's better at the beach. I keep telling myself that. Just wait, you're going to the beach. Everything will be better then. um, but this homeless issue, as many of you know, I manage storage facilities. And there's nothing that bothers me more. Like I'll go on TikTok and YouTube and I see all these videos about all these people bragging about how they deck out their storage unit to live in it or teaching people how to live in a storage unit. Um, not a good idea, folks. Not a good idea. Yes, it was horrible. They originally giving estimate for powering fix was 4 hours. Thankfully, it was only about an hour. Good, good. I'm glad you got your power back. Um, it really is not a good idea to live in a storage shed. Um, one, they're not zoned or not even nearly built for that. They are basically pole barns that you put in the like those metal sheds that you would put in the back of your yard, like back in the 70s and 80s. Now they make them out of wood. They make them out of, I guess they still make them out of metal, but um, they're basically pole barns. And they're not even, you know, they're not built to live in. First of all, they're not airtight, right? So let's talk about the weather, the way it's been, the heat and the smog. Vinny Chicken Cutlets, hello. The heat and the smog. Okay. First of all, I know if I have somebody that vacates one, I have to go out and I have to sweep it out, clean it out, make sure it's all right for the next person. You open that door. Those things are like bake ovens. Okay. Literally bake ovens, unless they're climate control. And I'll get into that. That's a different story, too. Um, they're not good to live in either, but I'll get to that. They're bake ovens, number one. Number two, they're not airtight. So, especially with the smog coming in, not only do you have the heat, but when you open the door and the smoke gets in there, and even when the door's closed, it'll seep in. Um, you're trapped in an oven that fills up with smog. Let me tell you something. I'm not wanting to be the manager that opens the door and finds somebody that like suffocated to death. Okay. That's not my goal in life. And it's happened, not to me, but it's happened. Not necessarily suffocating, but other reasons. So there is no air conditioning system to clean out the air. We're not talking about that right now, Vinny chicken cutlets. Second of all, there's no plumbing. So where are you doing your business at? Yeah, I can tell you some horrifying stories about that. Number two, they're not built to code as far as electricity, meaning, yeah, you might be able to find an outlet if it's an external building on the outside of the building, or you might be able, if you're in an internal building, there's outlets outside of the units. Those are not put there for you. They're put there for us, the owners of the property. If we need to hook up temporary equipment, like for cleaning or lighting or whatever. These people will rig, they'll put feet long of extension cords onto a power bar into their unit, which is very dangerous. And then they'll put like 10 things on their power bar, which again is dangerous. And you're relying on feet long of extension cord. Electricity wasn't made like that. Like, it wasn't built for that. People will use alternative heating sources come wintertime. Some will use an electric heater, like I said, on extended extension cords. Dangerous, fire hazard. Some people have been known to use candles. Very dangerous. Hot plates, that type of stuff. Very dangerous. These buildings are not built for that. They're not up to code for that. And when you rent a unit, it's in the lease. You're not supposed to live there. It's for storage only. Second of all, yes, we do have cameras. We do have fences. We do have gate codes, but we're not open 24/7. And those cameras are there for after the fact. We can't promise your safety if you're there after hours. There's a reason why the property shuts down after a certain time at night. Like, you're not allowed on there. Even if you have a unit there, you're not allowed there. There are places that offer 24-hour access. That's not us. What if something does happen to you? And here's the thing, guys. Yeah, another thing I want to mention is people that are living in their units, they tend to store food in there. Well, what does food bring? Mice, rats, other animals. And then they ultimately get into other people's units. Yeah. And I feel bad. I really seriously feel bad for a lot of these homeless people. And the Allentown, the property I work at, the police department actually does have a special Allentown. Let me tell you something. They have special divisions for everything. But um and there's resources for these people. And I can't tell you how many times I've had to well, I haven't called the police resources, but I do have people that I have to chase them off the property if they're homeless. I'm like, look, you can't live in your unit. You can't do this. Um, and the worst part is if they do vacate or they do get evicted, they leave a lot of their stuff behind. And now, see, I can't evict them if they don't pay their bill. Oddly enough, they're homeless, but the one bill they pay is their storage unit. Yeah. Um, I have several that are on the property that are hooked up with shelters, which is a good thing. They have a shelter to help them out, or the shelter, if they're full, they give them hotel vouchers. But they're only allowed to be at the shelter at night between certain hours of the night. So where they go during the day? Well, they go hang out at their shed and party. We can't have that either. We've actually had to put it in our lease that unless you're moving in or moving out, you cannot be on the property for more than 3 hours at a time. That also works with other things. There's people that like to go there and they like to run their businesses out of storage units. You can't do that. Again, the electric, um, hanging out on the property, it's not safe. It's not healthy. Our properties are not zoned for that. Um, but I've spent hours sometimes with some of these people, like helping them track down. And that's why I laugh when people go, "Oh, all you do is rent storage units." No, no, no. Okay, yeah, I do rent storage units. I do have a couple of um, residential units as well that I have to manage with my job. Um, but I spend hours with some of these people helping them find resources, and I will get them resources, and then they turn around and they don't follow through. And it's just so frustrating. It's just very, very frustrating with me. For me, um, I had one lady that was living on her property or trying to live on our property, and she had cats in a storage unit. Like, gross. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand, you have your animals, you're attached to them, but you can't live in a storage unit with cats. Um, but like I said, there's a lot of things that go along with it, with my job. And it's also depressing, you know, how many, there's like down the hill from my property, there's a whole homeless camp. I'm like, oh my God, they're living in the woods. Like it's depressing. It's horrible. It's depressing, but it's also, I know some of these people, when I have to question them and say, look, are you living in your unit? You can't do that. I know I come off as the bad guy, but this really is not a safe alternative. you know, and it infuriates me when I go on like social media and I see people either bragging about it or teaching other people how to do it. I'm like, no, this is not okay. What if you do move in and something happens and you catch it? It won't just catch your unit on fire. It catches the whole row. It could flow into the next row. There's also other properties around our property. You're putting other lives in danger. It's not safe. It's not cool. I don't like it, and it bothers me. But I think what bothers me though is, and like I said, if I have tenants that are in need, I will try to help them find resources. I do have a resource through the police. I've never used that one, but I've gone on my own and helped them find shelters and stuff like that. Um, but it's horrifying that our economy is at this point. It really is. It really is. So anyway, that was my little homeless rant. Um, I mean, that's my biggest nightmare is I'm gonna go into work one day and I'm gonna check on a unit. And that's another thing. Like if they vacate or they leave and they don't pay, we cannot even open that unit for like 2 months before it's until it's eligible to be sold. Like we can't touch it. So they'll leave food in there, they'll leave all sorts of crap in there that attracts animals, and that's like the gross part of it. But my biggest fear is that I'm going to open up, and that's another thing in the wintertime, even if they don't use the alternative heating sources that are dangerous, you could freeze. I mean, like seriously, those things are not, they're not built to live in. My biggest fear is opening the door and finding someone unalived. It's not safe. It's not sanitary. It's and that's my little homeless rant for today. Um, but it's depressing. It is. I'm not gonna lie. It's depressing. Just to see like how many people are in that situation. And I can't tell you, I have a number of tenants that are homeless, but they follow the rules. They leave the property when they're not supposed to be there. There's a couple of them that, like I said, during the day they get kicked out of the shelters. So they'll go and they'll pretend they're rearranging their units. And as long as they're not bothering other people, I'll let them know, look, you're only allowed to be on the property for 3 hours. But if they're not bothering anybody, I let them go and just tell them, look, be off the property by the time it closes. That's all. You know, but it's hard. It's hard to see that. I've always been blessed. As there have been times where I thought I was gonna end up homeless, and something happens, and whatever, and I'm fine. But not everybody's blessed like we are. I think that's why it's depressing for me, because it's like, a lot of people. I'm just gonna use the word privilege. I'm not gonna use like white. I'm not gonna put a color to it. I'm not gonna put white privilege or whatever to it. I'm just gonna use the word privileged. A lot of people get upset when they hear the word privileged because they assume that it means that people are handed things. And it's not that people are handed things, but it just means more opportunities are offered to certain people. And, it's a reality, guys. Some people like, but then again, like I said, though, too, there's people I've tried to help and they don't follow through. So it's, some of them are in that position because they put themselves there and they want to stay there. So those people, it's hard to feel bad for. But there's other people, that it's really hard to feel bad for. Or I really do feel bad for. um, and it's just been bugging me for a few days, especially with this heat and smog and so I just need to vent and get it out. I appreciate you guys for listening to that rant. I know it's probably not something you guys care to hear about or even expected to hear about, but I will change the subject now. Have you guys I heard about those Tate brothers, Andrew and Tristan Tate. They were arrested in Florida, and I had actually never heard of them, so I had to look them up. And oh my gosh. Now, here's the thing, when you guys want to talk, when people want to talk about deporting people and ICE and all that, and immigrants are criminals and this, that, and the other. Okay, first of all, I don't know if they're technically deportable because they hold dual citizenship between the US and the UK. So whatever that is with, I know usually it means that, like, dual citizenship is usually, you know, children born to parents in other countries but are actually American. They just happen to be out of the country at the time. I don't know which country they were born in. I don't know which country their parents are from, etc. So I don't know if they're deportable because they are dual citizenship, but they hold dual citizenship in US and UK, and UK wants to press these charges, and I'll go through the charges a little bit. They're disgusting. These are the people that you need to send ICE after, okay? Get them out of here. I don't care if they hold a secondary citizenship with the US. They also hold a citizenship with the UK, and the UK wants them back to prosecute them. Get them the hell out of here. Don't keep them in our jail to waste our money. Just freaking fly them home and let their police deal with them. That's why, like, I know people think, oh, Jesse's a liberal. She doesn't, blah, blah, blah. Listen, if somebody needs to be deported, they need to be deported. I agree. I just don't like innocent people that actually are, like, just working for a living and trying to make it, getting deported. This show isn't about that, though, so I'm not going to get into why, where, and how I think someone's should be deported. But these two should be. So let's look over. Like I said, I didn't know anything about them. So I just did a quick AI search on them. And now again, with AI, you can't believe everything, but they're generally right. So Andrew and Tristan Tate were arrested by U.S. Marshals in Miami, Florida on July 18th, 2026. The federal authorities executed a sealed warrant following an extradition request from the UK's Crown Prosecution Service. The core charges. Okay, so the UK Crown Prosecution Service authorized a total of 59 criminal charges against the brothers, expanding on initial warrants. The alleged offenses occurred near London between 2010 and 2017, involving 7 victims. Andrew Tate faces 42 charges, including multiple counts of R, trafficking, and actual bodily harm, and offenses relating to indecent images of a child. Tristan Tate faces 17 charges, including R, and I'm assuming you guys know what I mean by that, assault, and I'm assuming you guys know what I mean by that, and human trafficking. The brothers are currently in U.S. custody and are scheduled to appear in federal court in Miami. Why waste our tax dollars? Just ship them over to the UK. Defense response. The Tate's attorney, Joseph McBride, released a statement strongly denying the allegations, calling the arrests a political hit and asserting that they will walk free. Background context. The brothers, who hold dual US-UK citizenship, originally relocated to Romania in 2016. They were arrested there in late 2022 and indicted on separate charges of human trafficking and R. After a Roman court lifted their travel restrictions, they flew to Florida, where they were also placed under a state criminal probe by Florida authorities before the federal U.S. Marshals executed the British extradition warrant. Yeah, see, gross. I don't know. What do you guys think about? I think we should get rid of them. Just deport them. Deport them back to the UK. Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? Anybody have an opinion on this? What do you guys think? If not, we'll see what else is in the news. Let me. Angel had asked me why I wasn't bothering with the whole Scott Peterson thing. Maybe I'll look into it a little bit. Personally, the evidence that they're using to reopen this case, to me, I don't understand why they're considering it new evidence. They're talking about the van that was seen in the neighborhood, the robberies in the neighborhood. All of that was investigated at the time she went missing. That was all brought up. So I don't understand why it's being brought up as, quote, new evidence. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something I'm missing about that. And in my heart, and listen, I'm not going to say there's not a chance he could be innocent. Of course, there's a chance he could be innocent. I really don't think he is. I think he's a dirtbag. No, I don't believe just because someone cheats on their wife means they are an unaliver. But for some reason, something in my heart tells me this one is. Also, what a lot of people don't know, we should comply with UK extradition and let UK. Well, right. They wouldn't necessarily be deported. They would be extradited, Twisted Tea. You're correct. The bottom line is, if the UK wants them, get them out of here, let them have them. Why are we even wasting, unless they have committed a crime here that we're aware of or there's an accusation of, why are we wasting our tax dollars? They're waiting to have like a hearing in Miami. No, just get rid of them. Send them back to the UK and let them be. And let the UK handle them. If they're found innocent, then they can come back. Whatever. That's just my personal feeling about it. Now back to Scott Peterson. When that case happened, I was at home. I had just had my son. She went missing in December of 2002, right? I had my son just like a handful of months before that. And I had taken my maternity leave. And then 2 months after I came back from maternity leave. I ended up my job got what do they call that? Dissolved. So it's on unemployment. But long story short, I still like was very hormonal from having a baby. Any woman that's had a baby, that whole first year or two, it's very hormonal still. um she went missing in December, and there were a lot of things in the case like regarding her and her husband and this that and the other, and she was like exactly the same age as me, um maybe a year or two difference or something like that, like same type of story, like same type of background, middle class background. um and they kept saying what the baby's due date would have been, and it felt like real close to what would be my son's first birthday. So I felt, and again, like I said, might have been a lot of hormones that I had, but it, yeah, you ever like hear one of those news stories that just hits home? Um, Not that I thought my ex was gonna lie me or anything, but it felt personal. It felt um close to home. Like, you know, they had they were both hard workers. They had the little house with the picket fence and all that. Um it just, I don't know. It felt like, I don't know. It just that case just bothered me. It really, really bothered me. Being a new mother, and um, it just it sat with me for a long time. Um, and again, so like I said, I mean, could he be innocent? Of course he can, but I don't know. Something about the whole thing just. I'm sorry, you don't go fishing 3-4 hours away, and then your wife and child's body washes up right near where you were. Could it have been a setup? Of course it could have been. Of course it could have been. But it's just really far fetched. Really far fetched. Um, he lied to his girlfriend before Lacey even went missing. Um, Lacey wasn't even missing. And he told Amber Fry, oh, basically he was a widow. This will be his first Christmas without his wife. And she hadn't even gone missing yet. Like, okay, so he's a cheater and a liar. No, that doesn't necessarily mean he unalived her, but like, I don't know. There's something not right about him. I mean, I look at his eyes, at his face, and I just cold-blooded killer. Um, he's at a vigil for his wife. And he's telling his girlfriend he's in Paris. Um, I don't know. I just, that case bothers me. It really does. Um, but maybe we could talk about it a little bit. Let's see here. All right, so the AI overview of what is happening with Scott Peterson now. Maybe I should kind of review it. Maybe it'll help me get through it. I don't know. Scott Peterson, now 53, is serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole at Mule Creek State Prison in Lone, California. He recently suffered a legal setback when a judge rejected all of his claims brought forward in his appeal by the Los Angeles Innocence Project. But we'll keep reading because I do believe they ended up giving him a new trial. The recent developments and ongoing legal situation include denied appeal in May. A San Mateo County Superior Court judge denied Peterson's habeas corpus petition, rejecting 14 claims that his defense argued would exonerate him. The Los Angeles Innocence Project, which took on his case in 2023 to present new scientific evidence and witness testimony, stated it will take the petition to a higher court. Continued imprisonment. After his death sentence was overturned by California's Supreme Court in 2020, he was resentenced to life in prison and transferred from death row at San Quentin to Mule Creek State Prison. Now, that doesn't bother me that they, it doesn't bother me that they got rid of the death sentence because, like I said, you never know. He might not be guilty, Media documentaries. The case has returned to the spotlight with recent television specials. A&E aired the documentary Scott Peterson, The New Evidence, which explores theories championed by the Innocence Project, including the claim that Lacey may have witnessed a neighborhood burglary on the day she disappeared. Additionally, and you know what, and that could be right. Maybe she did, and maybe they kidnapped her, and then when they realized there was a huge manhunt for her, and maybe by then it leaked out where Scott had been fishing that day, maybe it was planted, It's a possibility. Additionally, Peacock is set to release a 3-part docuseries Face-to-Face with Scott Peterson, which includes Peterson's first on-camera interview since 2003. Now, like I said, this doesn't mention that he's got a new trial. So let me look into that a little bit more. Give me a minute. Because I do believe he was given a new trial. Oh, no, he was denied a new trial. All right, so he still doesn't have a new trial yet. All right, so he still doesn't have a new trial yet. The burglary and, quote, hidden jail call. Former defense attorney Mark Garagos alleged that authorities withheld a recorded prison phone call. Okay, that I didn't know about. Call. In it, an inmate and another individual discussed confronting Lacey Peterson during a neighborhood home burglary on the day she disappeared. Prosecutors maintain that the lead was fully investigated at the time and found to be unrelated. The burned out man, who knows? Maybe they confronted someone else that might have looked similar to her. Who knows? But maybe it was her too. We don't know. The burned out van. The defense points to a van set on fire near the Peterson home shortly after Lacey went missing, while a judge allowed DNA testing on a piece of duct tape from Lacey's clothing. Requests to run comprehensive DNA testing on a mattress found inside the van were denied. At that, I don't know why they would deny that. I mean, DNA was still in its early state, like I would say earlier stages at that point. It'd been around for a while, but still, it's way more advanced now than it was even then. Witness sightings. The defense team highlights accounts from 15 separate neighbors who claim to have seen Lacey walking her dog, and maybe she did, the morning of December 24th, which would track the past timeline prosecutors track past the timeline prosecutors established for her murder. The prosecution and family response. The Stanislaus County District Attorney's Office and Lacey's mother, Sharon Rocha, have firmly rejected the push for a new trial. The prosecution contends that the original trial featured an overwhelming amount of circumstantial evidence against Peterson. Rocha maintains that there is no legitimate new evidence and that the jury's original verdict should offer finality to the family. See, that's where I stand. I don't think there's any new evidence. There's really no new evidence. That whole burglary and van thing was investigated at the beginning. As far as tapes of other inmates talking about confronting her, that I didn't know about, but that could be bullshit too, or it could be real. Who knows? I don't know. What do you guys think? I really don't. How do you get? Hold on one second. Give me a minute here, guys. How do you get a button in this chat? You're not getting a button, mini chicken cutlets. Forget it. You're not getting one. We should comply with UK. Really, nobody has any opinions on the Scott Peterson case? All right. What do you guys think? Who in the chat thinks he did? Listen, there's 9 of you. I'm not gonna bite. You can respond. Do you guys think he deserves a new? I don't think he does. I really don't. I'm sorry. I think he's guilty of sin. I think he I think he did it. This new evidence is not new. I don't. Like I said, that was a very emotional case for me. I don't think he does. I believe he's guilty. Yeah, I do. I think he's guilty. This evidence isn't new. I'm actually wondering why the Innocence Project is even touching it. To be perfectly honest, there haven't been many. I mean, yes, there's been a lot of high profile cases. I'm not saying there haven't been, but Innocence Project usually takes on older cases that they believe in. And I think they're just desperate for an old case to help out with and keep going forward on their own accord. I do not understand why the Innocence Project is even entertaining this. because they won't normally entertain a case like that, unless they feel it's worthy. He's already been denied a new case. I think it's funny that new evidence resurfaces after he's denied a new. Well, of course, he had, quote, new evidence while he was appealing for a new case. He gets denied, and now there's more new evidence. Like, no, I don't buy it. I think he did it. I know there's a lot of people that believe he's innocent, and that's fine. That's how people believe. It just, I don't know, guys. Again, like I said, maybe it was just, that was a traumatic case for me. Like I said, I was very emotional at the time. A lot of their lifestyle mirrored my lifestyle at the time. So it really hit home really hard. I don't know. Anything else you guys want to talk about? What's in the news? Let's see. Let's check in. All right. So, David, his preliminary hearing starts, I believe, tomorrow. What's today? Is today Tuesday? It starts. So his preliminary hearing starts on Tuesday, July 26th. It'll be a multi-day proceeding expected to determine if there's sufficient evidence to stand trial in the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. For ongoing updates and coverage, you can check news reports as KTLA, Fox 11, Los Angeles, blah, 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 blah. See, can someone, okay, Jesse, have you looked into the Drew Peterson case? That case makes me angry. I remember it, but very vaguely. I'll have to look back into it, which I will do, Heather. I will look back into it. But I don't remember specifics of it. It's been a while. Okay, so as far as David, now, guys, can you answer a question for me? The few of you that are listening that might know about this stuff. Preliminary hearings. Is that something recent? Like, and maybe it's just because, we're entering an era where every single trial is now televised. Whereas maybe back in the late 90s, early 2000s, even back as far as OJ. So, back then. Um, I always thought that they couldn't indict unless they had enough evidence to go to trial. But now it's like they're indicting people and now they're having preliminary hearings to find out if there's enough evidence. Like, does that sound right? That, you know what, maybe I would, that's something I want to ask Eric Foss. He might know about that. Um, you know, I didn't even think they could indict people unless they had enough evidence to take them to trial. Like, so it does confusing with me. It does confuse me um, that now they're having preliminary hearings. Like, I can understand preliminary hearing to set a date and just enter in everything that they do have. But the way they're wording these now is they're having preliminary hearings to determine if there's enough hearing or enough evidence to have a trial. Like, I don't get it. Maybe I'm way off. I don't know. I'm not a law student either, so I'm just curious about it. I always have been. I've always been like a true crime junkie, I guess, if you call it that. I think a lot of Gen Xers are. That's another thing. I think a lot of Gen Xers, maybe it was shows like Unsolved Mysteries and America's Most Wanted that I think you can indict with probable cause. Really? See, I did not know that. I wasn't aware of that. Is it more common now that if that's the case, is it more common that they're indicting with just probable cause before waiting until they have good evidence to indict? Is that maybe what the difference is? They're just indicting a lot quicker or before they have everything? Because I don't understand how you can indict. See, to me, and again, like we're dealing with legal terms versus what I think should happen, which are probably two different things. To me, you have to investigate before you can indict, right? Because you have to indict. You're not going to want to. You don't want to indict too early because they get denied a trial or they get found innocent, and you don't have all the evidence. Then you blew it. You can't try them again. I mean, I guess you can re-indict, but if they actually go through trial and you didn't have all the evidence there and they walk free, and I would think that you wouldn't want to indict until you've completed the investigation. And how can you complete the investigation if you haven't gone through all the evidence? Sometimes they use a grand jury for determining whether something goes to trial. I think it's the level of the crime. That could be too. I don't know. It just like, how can you indict somebody without evidence, to begin with? Oh, I know they have, Heather. I know they have. That's why I'm confused. So maybe it's a newer practice that they're doing this to prevent circumstantial convictions. I don't know. It just, I don't understand how they can even indict somebody without having evidence to connect them to the crime. Like, they have to be connected to the crime, correct? And yes, there's circumstantial evidence, and I get that. And a lot of innocent people have gone away on circumstantial evidence. So I'm wondering, maybe is this a newer process to prevent that? Marzi girl, I was always under the understanding that it goes to the grand jury first to see if they can indict, and the prelim is for the plea. Well, you're always going to have a prelim for a play. Um, that's what I mean. Like, I understand having preliminary trials, but now it's being worded that preliminary trials are to see if the evidence is good enough to take the trial. I'm like, well, if the evidence wasn't good enough to take the trial, why would they even indict them? Because they're not, like, I don't know. Found definition, see below. There's so many idiosyncrasies as to what can be used as evidence. True. That's true. Twisted too. All right. It says found definition, see below. I don't see below. Did you not post it yet? The problem I have is that sometimes even the best evidence won't give it. Exactly, Heather. A preliminary hearing is a pretrial court proceeding where a judge or magistrate determines if there's enough probable cause to believe a defendant committed a charged crime. It is not a trial. No, I know it's not a trial. I'm not I know it's not a trial. I do know that difference. But the whole definition of pre-trial hearing, it's a hearing, right? It's pre-trial hearing. But I'm talking about the wording that's being used nowadays. And the wording that's being used nowadays is that they will have a pre-trial hearing to see if there's enough evidence to go to trial. Well, why would they even be indicted if there wasn't enough evidence in the first place? That's my question. Right. Okay, so to see if the prosecution's evidence justifies advancing the case. Right, but you know that the prosecution's not going to indict unless they already feel they have enough evidence. And now thinking about what Heather said, there have been so many people that have gone to trial on circumstantial evidence. I'm not saying it's a bad thing they're doing this, but it seems like it's newer. So is it there now to prevent circumstantial evidence from pushing trials? Federal cases have 30 days to indict after being arrested. Some states have 180. So it's federal time is of the essence. Okay. All right. So if they arrest but they still need to investigate, they'll indict while they're still investigating. It's still kind of newer to me that they do this, though. You know what I mean? Preliminary trial hearing to me, like was brought up before in chat. I always thought that was just to enter the plea. Like it wasn't about evidence. It wasn't about, are you pleading guilty or not guilty? Is this 90 and 180 days? Is this newer, or is it just being enforced more, and that's why we hear more about preliminary hearings, pre-trial hearings? See, this is why I love you guys. You guys help me out so much. You guys like feed my true crime addiction. All right, Marcy, but I'm not going to be staying on too much longer. But I will drop the link. I'll bring you up. Hang on one second. I think they can do it within 30 days. Some are no brainers, I think. All right, there's the link, Marzi, or if anybody else wants to come up as well. All right, give me a second here. Hello, 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 Marzi. What's going on, sweetie?
Hello, my sweltering Pennsylvania buddy. How are you?
Oh my God, were you? Have you guys been getting the smog like we have? I'm a little bit
Yes.
further north than you, but oh
Yes.
God, so it's hit the Philly area. All right. Oh Jesus.
Oh, Idris, please. I apologize for Idris. He gets like this sometimes. Um, yeah, I think you guys are getting more of it than we are here, but nonetheless, we're getting it as well.
Right.
I just wanted to say you had to read that my two posts that are back to back all together. So it says that a preliminary hearing is a pre-trial court proceeding,
Yeah, I read it. I read.
right,
I didn't
where
read it
a
all
judge
out
or
loud. But
magistrate
I,
determines if there's enough probable cause to believe a defendant committed a charged crime. It's not a trial to determine guilt, which is what my understanding was. So I was wrong, but rather a mini trial to see if the prosecution's evidence justifies advancing the case.
well, see, I've always known it was never to determine guilt. I've always thought it as that's when they do like the pretrial hearing, which is what it is, like the preliminary trial hearing.
Right.
That's when you'll enter the plea. And if there's
Hmm.
anything new to add to evidence, prosecutors would add to evidence. But now, recently, in more recent years, the way it's being like portrayed in the news is that they use these pretrial hearings to see if the evidence is good enough to even go to trial. Well,
Right. So I was completely wrong in my thinking, but I did look up preliminary versus pretrial.
right.
And it
They're two
says
different things.
they are. It says the preliminary hearing is an early evidentiary proceeding where a judge determines if there is probable cause to believe a felony was committed and the defendant did it. In contrast, a pretrial hearing is a later, often recurring status conference used to
Yeah.
manage case flow, negotiate plea bargains, and argue legal motions.
Well,
So,
I'm talking about the earlier on ones, and these are the earlier on ones, which, like, is it, have these always happened, or are we just hearing about them more now because there's more like internet and TV access to them? Because I remember years ago, you didn't hear about it until, okay, maybe you heard about in the news that they went in and they pled guilty or not guilty. And
right.
then months later, the trial starts and you would watch or hear about the trial. Um, but now, like these pre-trials and preliminary hearings and such, they're using it, the way they're wording it is they're entering the evidence in to see if there's enough to go to trial. Well, if the prosecutors didn't think there was enough to go to trial, why wouldn't they indict? But Twisted Tea kind of answered my question that they have to indict within so many days after
Yes.
the arrest. So that I did not know. So that makes a little bit more sense. But to to see if there's enough evidence, I'm still not understanding why they would do those hearings because um really, what more evidence do you need that somebody's dead than they're dead?
Right. Well, and I feel like you hit it on the head. Now, isn't that funny? He just loves your voice and he's nice and quiet when you're talking. As
Oh,
soon
well,
as I open my mouth, he starts bitching. I
I
just,
used to have a bird, and
I know.
my bird died while I was doing a live.
Oh my God.
Let's have a
But I
heartbeat.
feel like you hit it the nail on the head when you said, is it just because social media and the internet is so vast now that we're learning about these more. I think it's always been like this.
Probably.
Like I remember, well, one thing that I've questioned often is like serial K's. Okay,
Mhm.
are more of them happening, or are we just hearing about it more? You
I
know, and
think
I
we're
feel like
hearing.
we're
Well,
hearing about it more.
I think it's a combination, and I'll tell you why. All right, yes, we're hearing about them more. Um, DNA is also linking a lot more cases to each other.
Right,
Like back in the 70s and 80s and early 90s, they didn't have DNA. Um, now, you know, okay, maybe if somebody got caught for one murder in one state and they went to jail and they were never looked at again, 3 states away, there was another murder. The cases were never connected.
right. No,
Um,
that's a good point. Very
I
good.
also think too that our population has risen. So you have to understand when the population rises, everything else rises with it. Crime, um, good things will rise too, but like crime and all that kind of, and bad things rise along with it. So years ago, maybe we had 100 people living in one town. You might have one burglary a year, right?
Right.
10 years down the road, you've got 1,000 people living in that town. You might have 3 burglaries a year. You know what I mean? So it's just, I think it's a combination of not only more access as far as internet or DNA or scientific um, advances, but I also think too that as the population rises, a lot of things rise too. So
And you know what I often ponder is when it comes to social media, many of us do this, even though we try very hard not to. Our lives are out there. So, I'm going away for the weekend.
mhm.
Now people who are prone to those types of crimes like robbery and whatnot, oh, well, this house will be unoccupied for 4 days. You know what I mean? So I think people putting out, oh, my family's going so and so somewhere and I'm going to be home alone. Boom.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're like advertising, come get me type of a deal. I
Right,
think, I think
exactly. Like,
that
come
happens.
rob my house. I actually have a friend of mine. This was years ago. It was when the internet was newer. She would go on vacation, and what I would do, but it was one of those situations where she'd always made it a habit to go, "Oh, we're going away here, we're going away there," and it was part of her job. Like she was, so people knew she was going to be away. So I used to go to her house and make posts from her house, so people, hey,
Right.
I'm staying here. Like, so people knew her house was occupied.
Right. Right. And that was a really good thing for you to do. Back on the Scott Peterson thing, I don't feel like he deserves another trial.
I don't think he does either. I
I
really don't.
just don't. And the two things that kind of stick me in my position is one, you had said he goes fishing in this one particular area, and then his wife and son show up in that area, shortly after. Well, not
Well,
shortly for the families, but
and
that,
by all rights, let me just give me a second and I'll let you continue. By all rights, that could be a setup because you know what? That came out, the area where he was came out long before the bodies were found.
oh, yeah,
It,
absolutely.
it
But
absolutely could have been a setup, but I don't think so. I really
I'm
don't.
just not getting that vibe, coupled with the fact that he lied about her being gone
Before she
to
even
the
went missing.
girlfriend before. Yeah,
I
right.
mean that, and again, listen, I'm not one of these people that thinks, oh, just because he cheated and lied means he's a murderer. But in this case, I feel it does. And that's my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm not, I still don't feel that just because he cheated on her means he unalived her. But just coupling that, a few of the facts about her missing and then the recovery and all that just kind of put me in that no kind of a mindset with him. And the only thing that's really stopping me from saying 100% he doesn't deserve a new trial is what you had said earlier. The Innocence Project does not take on a case unless they have really strong evidence
Right,
that
but
could
the evidence
change.
that they're bringing forth now is evidence that was all brought up in the original trial.
Well, there you go.
So I don't understand why the Innocence Project is even taking this out. Like, it boggles my mind
Was
because
any see? I have heard things here and there about him trying to get a new trial, but I haven't looked that deeply into it. Is any of the evidence that the Innocent Project is bringing in now? You said it's all evidence from before, but was any of that evidence excluded in his first trial, and they're trying to bring it back because maybe that's the
um,
reason?
some of it may have been. I do believe some of it was, and um, but I believe like the whole van story with the burglaries and the van being seen around town. If I remember correctly, that was excluded from the first trial
Right,
because they investigated it and determined it had nothing to do with it.
right.
But now all of a sudden, 24 years later, it does? Like, I don't get it. Like, that's
I
what I'm not getting.
Yeah, well, that's why I guess why they get paid the big bucks and we don't.
I
You
understand.
know what I mean? Like, I mean, I think we always need to remember, and I am a big offender of this, that the people in the legal system, the police, the attorneys, the judges, the investigators, so on, they know a hell of a lot more than we know. Because
Right.
they
And
only let out so much information when it
right,
comes to
right.
that. I just want to say hi, Heather. This is my sister in true crime. Heather and I enjoy true crime. I wonder too if that's not a reason why we're hearing a lot more about crimes and trials and hearings because there is such like a big, huge amount of the population is very into it. Yeah, Heather, I saw that Saquon Barkley, his home in Chester, PA.
Right. Well, you know, he grew up near where I'm at now.
Right, right, right.
Now he's down closer to you.
Yeah. Well, and that was sad too because they were home
Oh
when
my
it
god.
happened. Can you imagine? Like, all right, I'm not saying, if you're not home, your home gets burglarized, just get over it, move on. No,
No, but
I mean, you've been violated, okay?
it's traumatizing.
But can you imagine being home? He's got little kids,
Mhm.
to be there and not be able to do anything to further protect your family other than follow what these wingnuts who broke into his home said to do. I mean,
That's scary. It
that
really
is
is
very
traumatizing.
scary.
I mean, I know when I was real young, my parents were, um, our house was broken into, and nobody was home, thankfully. And we actually ended up knowing who it was, but my mom came home and found it, and then like while she's on the phone with the police, us kids got off the school bus and walked up the driveway. We are living in Percy at the time, believe it or
Oh
not.
yeah, nice area. Love her.
So we walked up the driveway, and there's mama, talking to cops and whatnot. And, even as a kid, it's traumatizing, even just stumbling upon it. So I can only imagine what it would be like to be home while it's going on.
I can't even. I can not I would literally have my second heart attack, I think.
Yeah.
Because that would just scare me to the point of needing medical attention. Our house our house was broken into once when we were home, but we were all in bed, mom and dad too. My
Mhm.
mom used to have this habit, which she ceased after this happened, where we would come in there was two doors to our home. There was the front door that faced the street, which my mom and dad turned that little vestibule area um, into like a storage type area. So we never used that door. And
Right.
then there was a door on the side of the house under the carport,
Hmm.
and we would use that door to come in and out. When you come in that door, to the right was the kitchen, to the left was the living room area. And it was kind of like an open L kind of a design.
Hmm.
And my mom would take her purse, the first thing she did when she came in, and she would put it behind the chair that was closest to that door. And it was just because she always wanted to know where it was. So when she had to leave, she would just go to that spot every time and grab her purse. And
Right.
we woke up one morning, and I think we were getting ready to go to church actually. And she went to get her purse and it wasn't there.
Oh,
And I think I was probably somewhere between 10 and 13 at the time. And she had dad and the three of us and herself looking everywhere in that house. And my father was getting annoyed because he was like, I don't know why you have us looking. You always put it in the same place. And she's like, just in case I got distracted. It was nowhere to be found in that house. So, of course,
hmm.
they called the police and they came out. My mom, made a report, and they did find her purse empty
Of
a
course.
few weeks later, like in some woods or something like that. So it definitely was stolen.
Hmm.
But I just remember feeling really weird after that. Like, oh my God, I was asleep and somebody was in our house.
Well, that's what I mean. Like you get this really weird feeling, like you feel violated.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I can't describe it unless you've been through it. Like somebody's been in my space. Like
Right.
somebody's doesn't
Somebody who
belong
wasn't supposed
here.
to be in here. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
now in today's world, things are a little bit easier if there is a theft of your wallet, because a
mhm,
lot of like Cash App, PayPal cards, you have on the app that you can automatically lock it.
you can shut it down. Right. Right.
Right. But I don't have a bank card because I just do my banking through Cash App, PayPal, and whatnot. So I don't know if you can do that with regular bank
Yeah.
cards and whatnot.
Hmm.
There you go.
You
So,
can
but
most banks do have like an online app now that you can lock your card and
oh,
all
good.
that stuff. Um, well, first of all, where I live, you have to have a code to get on the property. Second of all, there's four cameras you're going to go through between the gate and my parking spot. And one of those four cameras sits right on my car and my door. So I feel fine. I'm good.
Right, right.
Um, so,
I have a different lock than
mhm,
my neighbors. One of the things that makes me feel safer is in each building, there are four apartments side by side. Well, two at the bottom, two at the top. I'm one of the top ones, okay? And then
right,
on the flip side of the building, same, two on the bottom, two on the top. So
right.
there's technically eight apartments. The walls are really good in that, like if I'm watching the Eagles game and I'm screaming like a Mimi, the people next to me, below me, and behind me can hear me, but not like I'm in their living room.
Right. They might
Okay.
hear
And
like a
so that
muffled.
makes me feel a little safer. But a friend of mine had bought me one of those code locks.
Hmm.
You can't use it to lock your apartment, you have to use the key. But to get in, you punch your code in and something else, and then it'll unlock it for you. And this is how ridiculous I can be. I have watched things where if somebody has to punch a code in on a keypad, there's a certain light or something out there that somebody can shine on that keypad and they know what numbers you just touched.
Right. Like a heat light. It, or there's the heat lights that'll do that, or there's like lights that can pick on like the wear on it, you know. And now here's the
Right.
thing though with those. All right, it'll minimize it, but they still have to figure out what order you punched them
Well,
in.
exactly. And to
Um,
minimize it even more, as soon as I do that and I open my door, I touch each of the numbers
mhm.
so that now they don't know what ones I punched in,
Right, right.
you know? So
Um,
I
well,
try to keep a little safer.
I have just a regular well, it's more industrial because it's technically I live above a business. So even
Right.
my door has like the industrial door lock, which is good.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
it's better than like your normal home door. Um, but it's still, I mean, it's still vulnerable like any other lock. But again, like I said, I have the camera on the car, I have the camera on the door. Um, they have to be able to get onto the property in the first place, and this
Hmm.
property is full of cameras. So at least I have that. And I have a 357.
Well, there you go. I
So,
I am deathly afraid of nugs. So it's not something I own.
you know what? I was too. Um, I was too, but then I learned how to use one. Still don't like them. I mean, I don't like them. Um, and when my son was little, now there were guns in the house because my ex-husband was a hunter. We grew
Hmm.
up I grew up there are hunters in the family, you know. So we taught him to respect guns. We taught him how to handle them at the appropriate age.
Right.
Um, but as far as like my small handgun, I did not get that until he was an adult.
Right.
And already moved out. Um, just because I didn't want, you know, it's one thing that you have a shotgun or whatnot in the house. You know, handguns are a different thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Absolutely.
he was an adult. I have it, you know, I also have it in a safe so that, you know, you have to be able to access it. Um, and it's just me here. So it's, you know, I'm not worried about anybody turning it on me unless somebody does actually break in. But if they get that far that they're breaking in, I already have it aimed at their head. So,
I've been contemplating one of those uh, ring door camera things
mhm,
only because our our complex has a no solicitation policy.
right.
But I've been here, what, 4 going on 5 years now,
Hmm.
and I don't ever recall seeing any signs. And I've been meaning to bring this up to our front office, saying no solicitation on this property. But that was a really big thing when I signed my lease the first year.
Hmm.
Was, we do not allow solicitation, and I remember thinking, oh, that's great, because there's nothing more annoying. Okay,
Right.
but I have had so many come to my door. And the thing is, and I don't want you all to think I'm lazy, because I'm not. But having to walk down the stairs to the door for a solicitor and then walk back up, it's difficult for me sometimes to get
Right.
back up the steps with my heart,
Hmm.
and it's just like, oh, for the love of God. Like, if it was somebody I knew, okay, that's fine. But if it's not somebody I know, I just don't want to deal with that. So I'm thinking about getting one of those just so I can see if it's a solicitor and communicate with them.
Right.
And I always tell the solicitors, every single one that comes to the door, not that I think it's doing anything, but you know me, I believe in educating. Our complex has a no solicitation policy. So if I were you, I would leave the property. And then I
Right.
thank them and close the door. I mean, I'm always polite. And that's that, you know? So I think that I may invest in one just for that reason.
Oh, I have no soliciting, no trespassing, no everything all over the I'm good with that.
I
You
mean, my daughter has the code. My granddaughter knows the code. And
What's appropriate.
my local emergency services has the code,
Mhm.
and that's it. You know, that's all who needs to know the code. The apartment complex has it came with two keys. I have one key. I keep meaning to get another one made for my daughter. Um, and the apartment complex has the other key because the original lock that was on my door is no longer on my door.
Right.
So they need a key to be able to get in for inspections or maintenance or
Emergencies or some, yeah,
yeah.
stuff like that. Right.
So
But
are you like me, like can't wait till fall starts to come around? I can't do this anymore, Jess. This is crazy.
well, I don't like to complain about the heat a lot because come wintertime, I'm like bitching about being too cold. Um,
Yeah, true.
but I think with temperatures that feel like 105 degrees, I think we're all allowed to bitch a little bit.
Oh yeah, I'm right there with you.
I like early fall because it's still warm during the day. Gets a
Mm.
little cooler. It gets better sleeping at night because I like it a little bit cooler at night to sleep. Um, like early fall, but the problem with early fall is we only get like 2 weeks of it at best. At best.
Yeah, yeah. Now, how was your weather yesterday?
Yesterday it wasn't as hot. I forget what the temperature was. It wasn't as hot. It was still a little hazy from the smoke. But it felt humid to me. Like it wasn't as hot, but it was still yucky to be outside. Like,
Now, I kept getting emergency weather alerts on my phone. The flash flooding and the tornado. Were you
right.
getting that or no?
Not really. No.
Okay, because when I would check online, because I get the weather, I get a link to the weather every day just so I can check it out. And it was saying lower bucks. It wasn't saying upper bucks, so it's not like it was near you.
Yeah. See, I'm in Northampton, but I'm right at the top
Right,
of Upper Bucks.
right. I mean, that's
So
why I was saying they weren't specifically naming upper bucks, so you're right above that, you know.
right.
So
So maybe it was just local. Yeah. I mean, I did hear because I check out the Lehigh Valley station, WFMZ, and I think they mentioned a slight tornado warning, but I don't remember. I don't think it was for our area because they'll go a little bit into Bucks County as well.
right.
Um, but no, no,
Oh, look, Heather says that she had those alerts in Cleveland. I was just going to ask you what state you're in, Heather, and she said the storms were horrible. Yeah, we got hit pretty bad with the rain. We really did.
rain
Um,
yesterday and thunder and lightning. Yes, yes.
the wind was not so much of an issue. Pardon me. Now it's 80 right now where I'm at in PA, and Jesse's not too far from me, so I'm going
Yeah,
to
we're
assume
about
her,
80.
yeah, her temperature is about the same, and it only feels like 84, and I cannot even begin to tell you people how comforting that is. Now, if it wasn't smoky outside, like just walking my trash to the dumpster, which is not that far from my
Mhm.
apartment door, is a chore with the smoke in the air. It's horrible.
Oh, I know. I know it's bad. Now, yesterday we did have, you know what, we did have like horrific downpours, but it was more in the morning. It wasn't like all day long. It was just in the morning. Um, And then towards the end of the day, it kind of cleared up a little bit. But today, as far as the smoke, it's been a little bit better here, but there's still a haze. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
still definitely hazy, but it's a lot better than it has been. What
yeah,
was it? I can't remember if it was Thursday or Friday was so freaking bad.
yes,
It was
yes,
so
it
freaking
was.
bad. And I swear to God, this was the same thing 2 years ago that killed my bird. Um, that's the only thing I can think of. My bird was healthy, never had a problem with her. And then the air quality went down. Now, mind you, she's in the house, but you open the door and it comes in,
Like, yeah,
and
yeah,
so because I don't have like an inner door to the apartment. It's just a door you open up
yep, same here.
and then you go upstairs to the apartment, and it's like there's no door in between. So I really think 2 years ago we had like 2 or 3 days in a row straight of that smoke that you could barely see through, and that's when she died. And I think it was that. I think it just got to her little birdie lungs.
I think you're probably right. Unfortunately, so so sad. I remember. Well, I remember not. It was only a few days ago, but I was looking at like the New York area and what their sky looked at. I was just checking out some videos about this haze prior to Thursday and Friday because
Well, their sky gets orange. Have you ever
right,
seen
right,
how
because
orange?
I wasn't seeing a difference in the way our sky looked, and what are they talking about? Maybe it's like that here, and I'm just not sure. And I looked, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And this was during like noon during the day. It was like orange. It looked like it was almost like the sun was going down, and this was all day. New York
Yeah,
really is getting it very bad. Very
they get like their sky turns orange now. Our sky, well, it'll get dark and hazy here, but for some
mhm.
reason, New York, their sky gets freaking orange.
Yes, yes. And I can say ours got yellow at one point. That was
Hmm.
like Thursday and Friday. Thursday was like a lighter yellow, Friday was a darker yellow, and then it's been clearing up since then.
Yeah.
So, do you know of any flooding that happened up around you?
Um, Not really. Um, I mean, see, I'm in the city so much. I mean, we get flash floods in the street.
Right.
Um, Years ago, when I lived more into Bucks County, where it's more open land, um, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there was. I just haven't been down that way recently. The last time I was down that way was a couple weeks ago, so I don't know of anything real recent or anything
I'm
personally.
looking at Bucks from yesterday, and it's saying Upper Makefield had a lot of flooding. Washington's Crossing
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
lot of flooding, which doesn't surprise me because that's pretty open.
Yeah, I was
Um,
gonna say that's pretty open.
I'm looking to see. Of course, near the Delaware there was a lot of flooding.
Right.
Several.
Well, and my family, like a bulk of my family lives like 2 blocks off the Delaware. So I
Yeah,
don't know. But they're upper bucks, so I don't know if there was really too much bad flood. Like we we lived there long enough that we know when to start worrying.
yeah, right, right. I'm looking
33
to
feet.
see if there's
33
any
feet is when we start moving the furniture up to the second floor. Okay.
other. Well, the good thing is I'm on the second floor, so chances of me, I mean, it can still come in my door and it'll flood, where my steps
Oh, I have
stop.
pictures of the one time where like I said, they lived like 2 blocks off the Delaware. I had pictures of my dad's out in the backyard in his boat, and the Delaware River's up to the like steps of the back door of his house. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah,
I,
that's going to be an issue.
yeah. There is no such thing as a dry basement in Bucks County. I don't care how well you redo that basement.
How about it? How about it? Well, it just looks like Upper Mayfield and Washington Crossing were the only two that really got anything significant to the point where there were victims.
Right,
And some
right.
of them did
Make it.
not make it. But I'll tell you, I around me, it's actually a lot of creeks.
Uh huh.
So yeah, there's going to be flooding because the creeks don't hold a lot,
No,
and
and no,
majority
and
of the time there's stuff in the creeks that kind of dam up the water.
well, and not only that, when the overflow goes out into the fields, there's so much development now that all that water gets displaced.
Right.
And people don't understand that. Oh, you're a crazy liberal. No, listen. You know, when you have a creek that floods a field, that it's flooded for hundreds of years,
Yeah.
now all of a sudden you put a huge 50 apartment building in it that displaces that water. Where does it go? It goes
Right.
around it and into other people's houses.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Exactly. But I mean, it was, oh, the rain was hard yesterday. I was like, oh, Lord. And it's funny to watch Idris because he obviously not a fan of thunder.
Oh yeah.
Just
Gemma never
whether
liked it either. She would squat like, oh man.
if it's a little rumble all the way up to the big boom, he is squawking and flying around like somebody lit his tail feathers on fire. But he did sit there during the rain part and he was watching the rain.
Hmm.
And all I kept thinking was, I bet you're thinking, thank God I'm inside. Thank God. He's got little, I call them his friends, that because there's trees right outside my windows that hang out on the branches. And when the air quality is good, I will crack the window for him. So when he chirps, they chirp back out of it. It's so cute.
Aw.
It's so cute. But I bet he was kind of saying to them, sucks being you. I'm pretty good right about now. Oh,
And now I'm gonna pick on you a little bit. Idris yells out the window, "Help! Help! She's got me hostage!" No,
yeah, yeah.
I'm teasing.
But I'll tell you what, were anybody to come rescue his little green ass and let him free, he'd be at my door in a heartbeat,
Well,
because,
because I used to have Gemma. Gemma had a huge cage, and I had
yeah,
it by the window, which people tell me that's not good to do because they need to be like they need to feel safe. So you don't put them near. No, she loved the window. Like
yeah, I heard the same thing. So I was like, I'm going to give this a shot. And I put him by the window right now.
she loved the window, and I live on the second floor. It's actually a flat roof, so the birds would actually just perch, like literally right above her, and then they would fly down to the roof of the units below where they could
Mhm.
see in to the window. And she would sit there and she was pretty quiet as far as she would get loud at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. right before bed.
Right.
But usually during the day, in the middle of the night, she was quiet unless she heard her birdie friends, um, or and they usually came around like 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. So that's, I think, why she would be noisy about them. Um, but thunder and lightning, oh, that freaked her out. That would freak her out so
So
bad.
funny that your bird and Idris had the same bedtimes because that's when he goes to bed, 8 p.m.
Well, I read somewhere that, and it might be different, like every continent or every country, whatever, like whatever time zone you're in.
Yeah.
But I read like 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. is pretty much like when you go out on a spring morning, if you go outside, all of a sudden it gets real loud. You hear every bird in the world. It
Yeah.
usually is about 8 p.m. Like there's something, they have like internal clocks or something.
Well, exactly. And so I had read that you should wake them up, or get them into the habit of waking up at an hour like 8 a.m. because sunlight is very good for them.
Hmm.
And so that was where we started with the 8 a.m. wake up time, and that they need 12 hours of sleep.
Hmm.
So that's why he goes into his cage at 8 p.m. And he is so quiet during the night. I do
Oh
not
yeah.
hear him at all. The
Like I
only
said, unless there was thunder or lightning, you didn't hear her at night. Like, you
Well,
know.
the only time I hear him is if I walk into the kitchen, he thinks I'm getting food, and the person who originally had him, who passed on, started him on this horrible habit of whatever she ate, she would give him a little taste. So
Right.
every time I walk into the kitchen, he thinks I'm bringing something out for him to eat. So
Oh, I did that with Gemma too. I spoiled her.
that's the one thing. And of course, I'm keeping up with it. I probably could break that habit, but I mean, he's like, I think I asked Crystal the other day. She thinks he's like 12. He's old enough now where just let him have it. The other time is like when I first came up on panel, where he feels like he needs to interject in the conversation.
I was just gonna say that's the only other time she would squawk her head off if I was doing a show.
Right.
And I don't know if it's maybe just because, like, when you're doing a show, unless you have somebody on panel with you, she's only hearing me talking go on for like an hour or so. You know what I mean?
Right.
So she's probably thinking I'm talking to her.
Right. Well, he'll do that when I'm tutoring. I wear a headset with a microphone attached. And as soon as he hears me talking to my student, right away he does that chirp that you heard when I came up on your panel just now. And,
Mhm.
real loud. And my students know him so well. They're like, "Hi, Idris." He can't hear them because I have my headset on, but I'll turn to him and I'll say, "So and so said hi, Idris." And as soon as I say that, he stops. Like he just wants to be acknowledged,
Right, right.
and then he'll fly over and he sits on my monitor screen while I do my session, my hour-long session. And when I'm all done, he flies off and he's all good. Like he's my best math student ever.
Teacher's pet. He's
He
a
is
teacher's
the
pet.
teacher's pet, isn't he? But I have learned. I mean, I've always thought birds were so pretty, no matter what kind of bird they were. But I have learned more than I probably ever wanted to know by having him and Lulu, too, of course.
Well, my sister used to pick on me. She's like, "You know more about birds than" I'm like, and it was one of those things. Well, when you become a bird mommy, you kind of have to know this stuff. Like,
And it is not a job. Being a bird parent is not a job for the weak at heart, because you really do. They're like dogs in a sense. You really have to train them,
mhm.
to do certain things. Now, Idris was beyond the training not to go to the bathroom outside the cage. Okay, so we have that going on.
Well,
So
I
I
had Gemma from the time she was a baby, so I kind of feel bad. But I used to clip her wings and people were like, "You shouldn't clip their wings; they can't fly." And I'm like, "Listen, you don't understand. I tried not clipping her wings. She was just for some reason not. She would learn how to fly. She knew how to fly, but she didn't know how to stop, and
uh,
she kept slamming into the walls. And I got like I couldn't take it. So I took her to the pet store where I bought her. They were very knowledgeable. They've been pet. It was specifically a bird store. It wasn't like a random pet store. You know what I mean?
right,
So they
right,
were
right.
specialized in birds. And I said, "Listen, I don't know what to do." I said, "I know it's not good to clip their wings." And they said, "But what about you? What's your feeling about it?" I said, My heart breaks every time she slams into the wall. They said, "Listen, we're going to clip her wings. You just keep her wings clipped." That's
Well, yeah, I mean, how do you
she's
know whether or
she's a
not she's going to
domesticated
snap
cat.
her neck? I mean,
Or I was worried she was gonna like bust her beak or snap her neck or get like birdie brain damage or something.
right,
So they were like,
right.
listen, don't, there's gonna be a lot of people. And they even said, they said, no, preferably you don't clip their wings. But when you're getting to a situation where you're so upset over this bird getting hurt, do it for yourself because you're not going to be of use to that bird if you're. So I gave in and just started clipping her wings. And she would try to fly. It was funny. She would try to fly, but she wasn't getting anywhere. She had to walk everywhere she went. You know.
Right. I used to love watching Lulu walk around on the floor. It was the cutest thing. The things that I focus on with him, my daughter taught him how to go back in his cage at the end of the day.
Mhm.
She just would say to him, "Go home," and he would fly to his cage and let himself back in. So I keep that up. And that's obviously because it's time for him to go to sleep, and I'm not chasing him around. But also in case of an emergency, if I say go home to him, I know that he'll go to the cage. I can lock him in and then deal with whatever's going on.
Well,
Um,
oh, Gemma hate. Well, I don't want to say she hated her cage, but she hated going back in it. Once she was out, she hated going back in it. And I mean, once I got her back in it, she was fine. She understood. Okay, I'm in here for a reason. It's either bedtime or mommy's going to work, whatever.
right.
Um, but she would crawl up to the top of her cage. Mind you, I'm 5'4",
Yeah.
and her cage is maybe about 5 inches taller than me.
Hmm.
So it was like she would climb up to the top of the cage and she would sit up there like taunting me. So I had to
Yeah.
climb up there.
I've been through that. Yep.
I
Yep.
had to climb up there and get her. And then every time you go to grab her, then of course like she would nip at you and
Yep.
she'd a freaking beak on her. I got bit a few times, but
And they hurt, don't they?
oh
They
my
hurt
god.
when they bite. I'll tell you what.
Oh my god. So I finally like I eventually learned how to like come up from behind and like hold her and get her. I would have to literally put her in the cage and then shut it real quick. Yeah.
I trained him when he does that and he's on top of his cage. If I don't look at him, but I lift my left hand up, he'll
Mhm.
hop on it and I can put him right in the cage. So with that one went well. He trained that pretty quickly. He loves the clicker.
Well, because I had to pull her out of the cage. Like I couldn't clean her cage with her in it. Birds are very territorial.
Oh
For those
yeah.
of you that don't know, their poop is theirs.
Yep.
Okay.
Lulu used to bitch up
I
a
had to take her
storm.
out of the cage and so I could clean her cage because otherwise she would snap at me and try and claw at me and bite me. And
Mhm.
I'm like, no. I'm like, listen, honey, you need a clean cage.
Well, evidently, Idris is not as territorial as Lulu was because he could care less.
Right.
He'd come out and then during the middle of the day, I'll say, "Okay, my mom's going to go clean your cage." And his playground where he
Well,
loves
maybe
to
it's a
sit.
female bird thing.
Maybe it is because his playground's right next to his cage. And, they say that the conures are the comedians of the bird family. He
Mhm.
just sits and twists his head side by side. What's she doing now? Oh, look at that. Okay, well, now what's she doing now? Type of a deal. And it really doesn't bother him at all.
Well,
Not at all.
Gemma, Gemma was an Alexandrine parakeet.
Oh,
If
nice.
for those of you that don't know, all right, the difference between a parrot and a parakeet. Parrots are actually technically parakeets, um, but they're not classified as a parrot until they're a certain size.
Right.
Gemma,
Idris is the parrot.
right. Gemma was literally from beak to tail was 2 foot long. So Alexandrine's borderline on the classification of parakeet and parrot.
Yeah.
So a parrot can be a parakeet, but parakeet is parakeet. If that makes sense to you people, like
Yeah.
Marcy knows what I'm talking about, like
Yeah.
how to
Yeah. Yeah.
classify them. So technically, she was an Alexandrine parakeet, but from beak to tail, she was 2 foot long.
And
Um,
and conures are considered parrots, and Idris is a green-cheeked conure,
mhm,
which
mhm.
means his main color of his feathers are green, but he has yellow, he has red, and he has blue. But there are other conures out there, like the pineapple conure. They're pretty. They're
Yeah.
like white, yellow, a little orange, a little red. There's lots of different types of conures out there, but conures as a whole are pretty funny. I mean, they really, the looks they give you, the way they move from side to side with their little itty bitty feet, it's just it's too funny.
Well, Gemma was, and I forget what the other bird was. It was actually very similar to Alexandrines. Um, I forget what the other bird was, but there's another bird that they're almost identical, the Alexandrines and this other bird, except she had the red stripes on her wings. She was all green, orange beak, and she had the red stripes. Oh, the ringneck parakeet. They're very similar to the ringnecks. Um, but she was an Alexandrine. She had the red stripes, and she was a little bit bigger than the ringneck. But otherwise, like if it weren't for like the red stripes on the top, it was just the top of her wings. It was really cool, like on her shoulder, like little shoulder pads. um, but
Here,
so
let's
they're very similar to ringnecks, but they are classified differently. And I had her DNA'd, and that's how I knew she was a girl. And
if you want to bring this up, this shows some really nice pictures of Alexandrian.
all right, let me pull
I
it up.
spelled it wrong, but they still came up.
Yeah,
Oh, I guess I didn't.
see up at the top there, that top
Left
with the
hand
orange
one.
uh well, it's got the black ring on it. That's a ring neck. That's
Yeah.
actually not an Alexandrian. That's a ring neck. Now, if you took that black ring off of that bird and
Mm-hmm.
just had the red stripes on the wings, that's what Gemma looked like.
All right. So
Um,
how about this one? Oh no, that's got the black ring too.
oh, sorry. Um,
Here's one without the ring.
this one here, right on the end there.
The right in the middle, it's like a face forward.
Right, right. That was her. Now her front was yellow, but not quite that bright.
Here's
It wasn't
another
quite.
one without the ring. And is that the what you're talking about? The shoulder pad, the
Yeah,
red.
the red stripes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's cute.
Oh my god. Well, once I break down and get paid StreamYard again, I'm like really I'm I'm not doing it right now with the StreamYard because I'm really not doing normal shows like I normally do. So I don't
Right.
feel like spending the money. And StreamYard's been so itchy lately that I'm like, I'm not spending money on this until I'm ready to go back to doing, you know, more
Right.
consistent shows. But once I do that, I'll bring up pictures of Gemma. She was funny as shit. She would sit there and like turn upside down and put her little tail feathers in the air and spread them out.
Now, did it just change to the conure pictures for you?
What's that?
I just changed over the conure
Oh,
picture.
yeah, I know what conures
No,
look
but
like.
I mean, like, is it showing?
No, I took it
Oh,
down.
oh, okay.
I
Because
took,
yeah, Idris is absolutely the quintessential green cheek conure. He has all of the markings of a green cheeked conure. He's beautiful. And
right.
actually, I'm not sure how much you spent on Jenna. Now, my daughter got both Idris and Lulu via rescues. Idris is a very expensive bird.
Gemma was $900 just for her.
I'm going to see how much. Let's see. And so
She wasn't cheap. She wasn't cheap.
and
Uh,
Lulu was a Nande conure, and she was quite expensive. Not that my daughter paid for that, mind you. She got them as rescues. I think she,
right.
gave a donation. All right, how much does a conure cost? 2026 update.
They're not cheap.
Let's see. He's got a 30-year lifespan and he's 12 now. Oh, okay. Well, wait a minute. See, apart from the purchase price, initial setup and supplies run between 260 to $1,600.
Right.
That's
She was
just
900 just for her. I had to pay more for the cage and
1,000.
yeah, they're
A
not cheap.
thousand for the bird itself,
Right.
unless you go to a breeder and then you're spending 3 grand.
Right.
Jeez, can
Well,
you
I
imagine?
spent I spent 900 for Gemma and this was back in 20 what I forget. 2016. So that was 10 years ago. So she probably would have been worth, if I had to buy another bird again, probably 11, 1,000 to $1,200 probably.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're not cheap. Um,
Oh, now this is interesting. I was under the assumption that Lulu would cost more than Idris. A reputable breeder will charge you 900 for an Nande.
mhm,
A rescue or adoption. Now, like I said, Crystal, I think probably paid 100 for her,
mhm.
but up to $400, or a pet store up to 1 grand. Now, did your bird have a bracelet?
She was they chipped her, I think. What they do? Did they chip her?
Oop.
She didn't have a bracelet, but no, I don't think she was chipped either.
Now,
No, she
my
didn't have either.
understanding of a bracelet is that the bird um, came from another country.
Well, they can put bracelets on, like ID bracelets.
Right. But this,
So that's what I thought you meant.
no, no, no. Let me
Well,
put it.
she was born here. I know she was born here.
Lulu was not. I think she was from Brazil. Okay. I looked it up before because I was like, well, why do you have a bracelet and he does not?
Well, that might be how they identified them. You know what I mean? But
But
I
I
mean,
believe it's because they're born in another country and the bracelet means that they were checked out thoroughly by a vet.
mhm,
Um, then, oh, okay, but I know hers. She was born in another country. It says here, after a bird is born in captivity, a band is put on its leg. Basically, it is there as proof that the bird was born in a breeder's home rather
mhm.
than having been snatched from the wild somewhere, which is illegal. Now,
Right, and
so
they will also bracelet them for ID purposes too, like if they get out of the house and get lost.
right, right. I don't think her bracelet did that. I think hers was just kind of like, she's healthy and she's good to be
Right, right,
adopted or bought or whatever type
right.
of a.
Well, listen, Marcy, I gotta go eat dinner.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I got to do dinner for us as well. What do we want
um,
tonight, Idris?
I'm gonna wrap it up. But it was a pleasure talking with you. I'm sure I'll see you over at Angels tonight.
Yes, ma'am. It was great to talk to you too.
You
And I'm
too, as well.
glad
So,
you haven't suffered any more, issues with the weather than is necessary.
I've been suffering. I've just been quiet about it because nobody cares anyway.
Well, no flooding though, and no
Oh yeah,
hospitalization due to smoke or heat. I mean, this is just insane. I feel like we're on the surface of the sun. That's how hot it's been here.
it has been. It has
And I
been.
don't growing up, do you recall it being this hot ever?
Not this hot. I
No,
mean,
no.
once in a while, like maybe once every 5 or 6 years, oh, we had 102 degree, like
Yeah,
that often. But this is getting to be like every summer we have a day or two or a week or two or and it's really weird because it will go from like June, it'll be so chilly in June when you think it's supposed to start warming up, and then bam, we go into a week of record heat wave.
right.
So there's no break, like there's no acclimating to it.
And I remember when we were younger, it was like 89, 90 degrees, but the feels like was like 98 to 100. Okay.
Hmm.
Now we're doing 99 degrees, feels like 107. I'm like, this
Right,
is insane.
right.
Nothing can survive 107. Come on now, you know?
Maybe that's what happened to Saturn. Who knows?
Maybe.
Maybe Saturn
Maybe.
or not. Like, is it that's the planet, right? That they thought at one point there was. Am I correct? Is it Saturn?
I'm not sure what you're saying.
They thought there was like, I don't necessarily know human life, but they thought there was life on that planet at one point.
Oh, and that all died off because of the
Yeah.
heat.
Well, I think it would might have been because of the heat. Who knows?
You know what? I would be willing to go along with that just because we're living in the air. Heather, it was so good to see you, girl. I'll see you tonight at
No,
Angels. Jesse, thank you so much.
no problem. Thank you for coming up, Marzi.
Yep.
And thank you, Marzi, for coming up. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Twisted Tea, for being here. Anybody else came in and visited and said hello. Um, thank you for stopping by. I love you all. Try to be kind, and I will see you guys all in the next chat room, which will most likely be Angels tonight. See you guys.